I make videos defending Rory Gilmore. I don't make a lot of them, I don't make them often. The reason that I don't make a lot of them and don't make them often is because when I discuss Rory Gilmore, the bean soup theory comes back to life. Now, if you remember what the bean soup theory is, the bean soup theory is like that person who literally made a video like with a recipe for bean soup and someone commented, well, what if I don't like beans? I make videos defending Rory Gilmore. And people, I literally say in these videos, I do not care why you hate Rory Gilmore. Your hatred of Rory Gilmore is not original. I will never care. Please stop trying to tell me why you hate Rory Gilmore on my Rory Gilmore defense videos. And people still go, well, I hate Rory because, but now on my video where I literally just made a video saying I don't give a shit why you hate Rory Gilmore, people have instead decided to start saying, well, actually, I don't hate Rory Gilmore. And I'm like, thank you. And then they say, I hate Lorelai Gilmore. I hate her so much. I hate that Rory's exactly like her. I started hating Rory more when she became more like Lorelai. I hate Lorelai. I don't think she's a good mom. And it's like, I think they think that I agree because I defend Rory Gilmore. And I defend her from Lorelai Gilmore and some of Lorelai Gilmore's less ideal parenting traits. I love Lorelai Gilmore. I love her. I love Lorelai Gilmore. I love that she's quippy. I love that she's funny. I love that she's a little selfish. I love that she had a baby at the age of 16 and figured out how to make it work and isn't afraid to ask for help from the parents who absolutely emotionally abuse and manipulate and financially abuse and manipulate her at every chance that they get, so that people think that her parents are actually heroes when actually they are, again, I cannot emphasize these words enough, emotionally and financially abusing and manipulating their 30-year-old daughter, 32, 34-year-old daughter. I love Lorelai Gilmore. And you saying, well, I don't hate Rory, I hate Lorelai, also does not make you special. Sometimes I think that people think that they are special if they hate Rory Gilmore. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I will literally say, you are not special. Your reasons for hating Rory Gilmore are not special. Please don't tell me them. I've heard them over and over again. And people will literally still say, well, I hate her because. It's the same 5 reasons, okay? It's the same 5 reasons. It's the cheating scandal. Yes, I'm starting with the cheating scandal. People get mad if I focus too much on the cheating, even though people specifically tend to focus on the cheating. It's her being a selfish friend in the episodes where she's a teenage girl and sometimes doesn't manage to time herself well enough to be a good friend to Lane and a good girlfriend to Dean and a good daughter to Lorelai. It's the fact someone literally commented on one of my videos, and by the way, I block people if I think that they sound stupid. I am a queen of blocking. I'm a big believer in blocking. I think it's healthy for my mental health and for yours because of how mean I could be. And this is also, again, why I don't talk about Rory Gilmore that often. But someone said that Rory lets people treat her mom like garbage. And no. No, the one time I could argue that that is mildly true is that Rory dates Jess, and Jess is very rude to Lorelai and to everyone in Rory's life. But Jess is also mean to Rory consistently sometimes in a special different way, but all the same. Rory's a 16-year-old girl. Like, in the start, she's 16. Or 15 actually, and then she turned 16 and then it keeps going, okay? She's young and she's dumb. And by the end of the series, if you bring up a year in the life, I will just block you, okay? No one brings up a year in the life unless they're trying to dogpile on someone, okay? Because a year in the life is bad. Amy Sherman-Palladino didn't watch season 7. She doesn't know what happened in the end of the series. This is just what she wanted to happen in season 7 because she's an internalized misogynist who hates her female characters and doesn't actually like to end her shows with her female characters happy. And you can tell me that it's proof of generational trauma and that it's well-written generational trauma, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a shit. She made a show where time doesn't really exist consistently, and then decided that actually her female characters can't ever be happy for longer than 30 seconds at a time. So I'm allowed to dislike that, okay? So don't bring up a year in the life. I won't listen to you. Actually, that is a lie, because sometimes people do bring up a year in the life, or like things where I'm like, don't bring it up, and I'm like, that is interesting, but it's very, very rare. So rare, because people tend to bring up the same 3 points because they don't read through the comment section first at all to see what the comments have said beforehand. Even if there are only 5 comments, people will still go, what about beans? Like, what if I don't like beans? And there will be 3 other what if I don't like beans comments. Now, Lorelai Gilmore had a child at the age of 16 and was raised by abusive and financially manipulative people who did not like her. They liked the concept of having a child for the sole reason that it would raise their societal standard. Because that's what happens in the world sometimes. That's at least what the world pretends happens, especially in the rich echelons of society. Lorelai Gilmore could never do anything right, and has never done anything right in her parents' eyes, except in the graduation episode where they actually do get to be proud of her for 30 seconds. But typically, Lorelai is the bane of her parents' existence. We see it in the flashbacks, we see it in the current day. We see that anytime Lorelai tries to be, like, get her dad to be nice to her for longer than 30 seconds, something goes wrong and a switch flips and he is mean to her. Except in, like, episodes where they go shopping at Staples and he's consistently using her as his assistant. And he's like, oh, this is cool, we can spend time together like this. And it all works really well, except for the fact that she has an actual other job that she has to go to. And he gets really mad at her when she has to be like, Dad, I have to go. Because he has no ability to understand his own emotions. And because of this, Lorelai also has no ability to understand her emotions. And people go, well, they need therapy. Yeah, everyone needs therapy. You know what no one in the years 2000 to 2007 was gonna get without being proved absolutely mentally insane first? Therapy. And I am going to bring up a year in the life for 30 seconds so I could show exactly what the therapy would have been in Gilmore Girls if it ever came up, and it would have been that. Because people, especially in the years 2000 to 2007, had no respect for therapy. Have you ever seen The Nanny? Have you seen A, Gracie as an entire character, or B, the entire storyline where Fran goes to therapy because she's too obsessed with men and getting married, and her therapist is kind of creepy and kind of gross, and it's just like making calls being like, hey, yeah, we can definitely add that extra like addition to my house now. I've got a cash cow. That's what people think therapy is in the 90s, in the early 2000s. Literally, when my sister told me that I should start going to therapy when I was like 12, because we were being raised in an abusive household, and she was like, and like, you probably have ADHD, and like therapy will help with like figuring out how to calm yourself emotionally. I looked at her and I went, I'm not crazy. Tears in my eyes, about to start streaming down my face because I was acting crazy, but I was like, I'm not crazy. My sister's like, going to therapy doesn't mean that you're crazy, but in the media, in the people that you talk to, around anyone that you knew, if you said, I'm talking to my therapist, your friends, your family, your close ones, your not so close ones were gonna be like, oh, you go to therapy? That's neat. That's normal. So normal. I'm gonna go over here now. Like, it was an icky thing to do. It was an icky thing to consider doing. So when we say Lorelai Gilmore needed therapy, we mean modern day Lorelai Gilmore, if she were in, like, if this shit were happening now, would go to therapy for the concept of everything that her parents did to her. But it was never gonna happen between the years 2000 to 2007. So Lorelai was very much on her own when it came to the concept of raising Rory, the concept of trying to end the generational trauma. And Lorelai was doing her best to end years upon years upon years of generational trauma. And she thought she was doing great. She wasn't. She thought she was. It seemed to be working, but what she didn't understand is that while she was using the nicer version, I keep forgetting I have a bruise there. While she was using the nicer version of manipulative tactics and raising Rory, she was still being very similar to Emily and to Richard. Lorelai Gilmore used mean girl tactics on her daughter as the only way to control her when she wasn't being the cool mom. Now, Rory was told that she had to be perfect at all times, no matter what, to appease her grandparents, to appease her mother, to appease the people in town. And anytime Rory had a very valid crash out, no one was understanding. Ever. Taylor Dosey decided to name Rory the Ice Cream Queen without asking her. He made posters throughout the town naming her the Ice Cream Queen, and he didn't ask her. It was before she went to college, and she didn't have the fucking time. And the only person in that situation who stood up for Rory was Rory. Now, Lorelai Gilmore tries her best. She does, and I love Lorelai Gilmore because she does try her best. She really tries her best with her parents, and she tries her best with her daughter. Is her best always enough? No, because she needed therapy. She needed help. She needed to be able to admit that sometimes she can't do things on her own, but also the people around her weren't helping. Because if something happened in one of Lorelai's relationships, no matter what it was, Lorelai was the one who would get blamed for that relationship ending. And my best example is the Max Medina of it all. They were not in a healthy relationship. They were not healthy for each other at all. And Lorelai kind of knew that, and she kept trying to back away. And yeah, sometimes she would go back and try to be like, I've missed you, which is stupid, but it's also very natural and something that happens a lot. Do you know how many guys have blocked and then unblocked and blocked and then unblocked? Do you know how many of my friends have done the same thing? You block, you unblock, you block, you unblock, you block, you unblock. Because you're just like, maybe it could work this time. It won't, but you sometimes gotta try. Lorelai ditched Max on the day of the wedding, yes, but do I actually think that she would have been able to call off the wedding any time beforehand? No, because Max Medina emotionally manipulated her into saying yes to the proposal by buying so many fucking daisies that they filled the entire town, because Lorelai was like, no, like a proposal has to be like this, and she's saying it offhandedly because she's already saying no to his proposal because it's a crazy proposal, because they're toxic for each other. And Max goes, no, I think actually I am gonna propose with the bajillion 10,000 daisies, and you will have no choice but to say yes to me. She literally had no choice. She was trying to make it work. It was never gonna work. And he also was trying to make it work, but he wasn't trying that hard. He was trying to step into a situation that already existed and question all of Lorelai's parenting tactics that are already getting questioned by her actual parents, who dislike everything that she does for her daughter. And now Max wants to be able to step in and do the same thing. That wasn't gonna work. Max didn't know Rory enough, and Rory was basically already grown and raised. And also, Lorelai is a judgy enough parent that anything Rory did that stepped out of Lorelai's deemed it's okay to do this type of category got Rory into a heap of trouble, but the trouble was usually silent treatment. Now, I know a lot of this sounds like I'm saying I don't like Lorelai Gilmore. That is false. I love Lorelai Gilmore, because Lorelai Gilmore does try her best. She does love her daughter. She does the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life, but so does every single character in Gilmore Girls. Suki decided that her house was too girly for Jackson to move into, so she bought an entire antique store. Suki decided her house was not girly enough, so she bought an entire antique store because she couldn't believe her fiance when he said he liked her place. Jackson ran for the town leader position because Taylor Dosey refused to tell him while he was building his entire greenhouse that the greenhouse was in the wrong spot. This is a town. This is a show of the most ridiculous people you've ever seen doing ridiculous things. And yeah, the star solo characters are caricatures. Yeah, sure. But then we also still have the Gilmores. We also still have those super rich people who are much less caricature-y. And we also have them doing terrible things. Paris Geller every week is going to do the most insanely selfish thing you've ever seen in your life, but because Paris knows that she's selfish, people don't hate her. They think she's a girl boss. I'm saying all this because Lorelai has committed many faults, and I think that the faults need to be called out, but just because she's committed these faults, and just because in 7 seasons the growth is sometimes stagnant in a show that really it takes a lot to get these characters to grow, because Amy Sherman-Palladino doesn't know how to do that, because by the end of each season, the #1 goal for Amy Sherman-Palladino is to take a gun and shoot her character in the foot. It doesn't mean that there's not growth, that there's not change, that there's not movement forward. And when I say I am going to defend Rory Gilmore to the death, and I'm going to do that because every person on the internet thinks that Rory Gilmore is the devil in disguise, and I say I don't care why you hate Rory Gilmore. And then they say, well, I actually hate her because, as if they are special. That does not mean that I want to hear the opposite end of it, which is, oh, I don't hate Rory, I hate Lorelai. Because that also doesn't make you special. It just, at a certain point, makes me wonder what the full capability of understanding a show like this really is, if you're also only willing to see good or evil. Do you understand what I mean? Maybe? Lorelai Gilmore's not evil. Rory Gilmore's not evil. Even Emily and Richard aren't evil. They're a lot closer to evil than Lorelai or Rory because they're very old and they're also very narcissistic. And their abuse tactics are actually abuse tactics, whether or not they admit out loud that they know it. They know it. But all parenting that Lorelai has and does is based on and against what her parents did. So here's Lorelai, here's Rory, here's Emily and Richard. Emily and Richard actively disdained anything Lorelai did that went out of the norm. They didn't like that she was loud. They didn't like if she got her pretty dresses like dirty. They didn't like her. And if Lorelai stepped out of line, even in the show, when Lorelai steps out of line for what Emily and Richard do, instead of thinking, how can we fix this with our daughter? Instead of trying, they go, how can we fix this with our granddaughter? And they give Lorelai often the silent treatment. Now, Lorelai is also a huge purveyor of the silent treatment, which is why she ignores her daughter when she needs to take a mental health break because she had a mental breakdown. Whether or not you want to call it that, that's what it fucking was. She had a mental breakdown. After years of being on a journey that was set up not by her, but by her mother and her grandparents to keep everyone happy, but there's no possible way to keep both parties happy at the same time. Hello. It's not time yet. It's not time yet. You still got another hour. You still got another hour. And Lorelai is trying her best. And she thinks that she's doing everything the opposite way of Emily and Richard because she thinks that she's giving Rory a lot of freedom. But she's only giving Rory enough freedom to get to the very end of the leash before Lorelai. Hello, there's no food for puppies on here. There's no food for puppy on here. Before Lorelai tugs the leash back and starts deciding that she has to parent Rory again. Because she's also still learning because she had Rory when she was Rory's age. And that's an issue because that's also where she got stuck in being for the rest of her life. She's trying to grow, she's trying to move forward, she's trying to not regress every time that she has a setback, but it's hard because she started this journey when she was 16 and there was also no way off the train. Do you get it? Do you understand? Do you think they get it? Do you think they get it? We'll see. Okay, anyways, thank you for coming to my Jack rant. I'm going to go write my book for a while before I feed them in an hour. An hour. You got your 1:30 treat a little late, so like you still are eating at 3:30, okay? Okay. We accidentally trained it so that she gets a 1:30 treat. We didn't mean to. It's just my mom, who is my roommate and also the co-owner of this house with me, comes home from her job at 1:30 every day. And every day when she gets in at 1:30, she gives the puppies a cute tiny little treat. So when on the weekends we are actually home at 1:30, which doesn't always happen because on the weekends we're going out, we're exploring all that jazz, Muffy, between 1:30 and 2, starts coming to me and being like, hi, do you know what time it is? And I'm like, it is not 3:30. And then I realize, oh, it's the time that you get the bone that's literally this big to appease you until 3:30 when you eat the full meal. And then at about 5:30 when I come home from work, she also, if we are home at 5:30 on a Sunday, does the same thing all over again. We Pavloved too close to the sun, I tell you. Anyways, thank you for coming to my Jack Talk. I hope that you listened, and I hope it doesn't come off as too rude, but also I mildly don't care if I did in this case, because I'm really, 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 really sick of the bean soup of it all. And also the misogyny, the blatant, continuous, aggressive, never-ending misogyny. Whether or not people think it's misogyny because they like other female characters, just not these female characters, the reason for hitting these female characters really comes off as just disliking women. So.